Ladies and gentlemen, when you are overly friendly, you create an image of yourself that may seem warm and welcoming on the surface, but beneath it lies a dangerous truth. You begin to lose control over how people perceive you and, more importantly, how they treat you. There is a difference between being kind and being excessively accommodating. Kindness is rooted in strength, in the ability to show respect while maintaining self-respect. Over-friendliness, however, often comes from a place of fear, insecurity, or an unconscious desire for acceptance. You start to give away your most valuable resources, your time, your focus, your energy, without any conscious filter. Every time you agree to help someone without considering how it impacts you, every time you smile through disrespect just to keep the peace, you send a silent signal that your needs are secondary, that your boundaries are negotiable, and that your life can be interrupted at any moment without consequence. This is not just about the occasional favor or the act of helping someone in genuine need. This is about the constant habit of placing others before yourself, to the point where you begin to fade into the background of your own life. When you are too friendly, you unintentionally train people to view you as a resource to be used rather than a person to be respected. They start to expect your agreement before they even ask. Your willingness becomes their entitlement. And slowly, without realizing it, you find that your own ambitions are delayed, your own priorities are buried, and your own energy is drained, all in the name of being nice. The danger is that it happens gradually, one small yes after another. You help a coworker with their task even though you have a deadline of your own. You agree to attend an event you have no interest in because you don't want to disappoint a friend. You lend money you can't afford to lose because you fear the awkwardness of saying no. On their own, these moments seem harmless, but together they create a pattern that tells the world you are always available, always agreeable, and always willing to put yourself last. Over time, this habit doesn't just take from your schedule, it takes from your identity. You start to lose sight of what you truly want, because your decisions are shaped more by other people's needs than your own vision. What makes this even more destructive is the illusion it creates. People may praise you for being so nice or such a good friend. And while that validation feels good in the moment, it's a dangerous currency. It conditions you to keep seeking approval instead of progress. It keeps you in a loop where your worth is measured by how much you can give away rather than how much you can grow. The compliments become a trap because they reinforce the very behavior that is holding you back. You are not living for your own fulfillment. You're living for applause that disappears the moment you can't meet someone's expectations. The truth is, over-friendliness is rarely about genuine love or care for others. More often, it is a form of self-neglect disguised as generosity. You want to be liked, so you bend your schedule to fit someone else's needs. You want to avoid confrontation, so you bite your tongue instead of expressing your true feelings. You want to avoid rejection, so you keep giving more than you receive, hoping that if you are always agreeable, people will never walk away. But here's the reality: they still will. No matter how friendly you are, there will always be people who take advantage, people who leave, people who never appreciate what you give. And when they do, you'll realize you traded your time, your energy, and your peace for nothing more than temporary approval. Every resource you have is finite. Your time cannot be replaced. Your energy has limits. Your mental focus can only stretch so far. When you use those resources for people or situations that don't truly deserve them, you are making an investment with no return. And while you might tell yourself it's not a big deal, it's those little withdrawals day after day that leave you depleted. Being overly friendly may seem harmless in the short term, but over time, it quietly robs you of the discipline and focus needed to create the life you actually want. And here's where the shift must happen. You have to understand that your value does not come from how much you give away without boundaries. Your value comes from what you build, what you protect, and what you choose to say yes to. Saying yes should be intentional, not automatic. Every yes you give is a piece of your life that you can never get back. If that yes doesn't move you closer to your purpose, it's not worth giving. This is not selfishness, it's strategic living. It's understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot create a great life if all your energy is spent holding together everyone else's. When you are too friendly, you unconsciously lower the standards for how others treat you. You send the message that you will tolerate last-minute demands, disrespectful behavior, and one-sided relationships. The more you tolerate, the more you attract those very situations into your life. Boundaries are not about keeping people out, they are about keeping yourself intact. If you don't set them, you will be pulled in 100 different directions by people who have no responsibility for where you end up. You will always be busy but never productive, always surrounded by people but never truly supported, always saying yes but never moving forward. Every yes you give carries a weight that most people never stop to consider. It's not just a word, it's a commitment of time, attention, and energy. Saying yes to one thing always means saying no to something else, and too often, that something else is your own goal, your own dream, your own peace of mind. When you say yes without thinking, you open the door to distractions, to demands that pull you off course, to obligations that don't serve your future. Most people live their entire lives without realizing that their constant agreement to everything is the very reason they never get where they want to go. They think they're being helpful, cooperative, or good people, but in reality they are scattering their focus so widely that nothing meaningful ever gets completed. A strategic no is not an act of rudeness, it's an act of discipline. It is the ability to look at a request, an opportunity, or a demand and ask yourself, does this move me closer to the life I want, or is it just filling my time? If the answer is the latter, you must have the courage to refuse. Most people don't struggle with ambition, they struggle with distraction disguised as obligation. They let someone else's urgency become their emergency. They let guilt dictate their calendar. They say yes because they don't want to feel uncomfortable, but that brief moment of discomfort from saying no is far less damaging than the long-term cost of saying yes to the wrong thing. The wrong yes can take years from your life. It can keep you in jobs that drain your spirit, in relationships that stunt your growth, in social circles that encourage complacency instead of progress. Every wrong yes pushes your dreams further into the background, replacing them with other people's priorities. You might tell yourself that it's just this one time, or just until things settle, but life doesn't settle, it fills. The more space you give to other people's demands, the more they will occupy. You'll look back years later and realize that the life you're living is not the one you wanted, but the one you agreed to without question. The power of a strategic no is that it forces you to choose deliberately. It demands that you value your time as much as you value your reputation. Many people fear that saying no will make them disliked, but here's the truth. The people who respect you will respect your boundaries, and the people who don't respect your boundaries should not have unlimited access to your life. The fear of rejection makes too many people keep saying yes, but in reality, that constant yes is what leads to being overlooked, undervalued, and taken for granted. When you say yes to everything, your yes loses its value. It becomes expected instead of appreciated. Think of your yes as currency. If you hand it out carelessly, it becomes worthless. But if you protect it and give it only where it has purpose, it becomes powerful. When you say yes to something that matters, your energy is fully behind it. You bring your best self to the table. You move forward with clarity because you are not weighed down by obligations that don't belong to you. That's the difference between living reactively and living intentionally. A reactive life is one where your yes is automatic. An intentional life is one where your yes is earned. Learning to say no is not about becoming cold or selfish. It's about aligning your decisions with your vision. It's about recognizing that every demand on your time has an opportunity cost. Every meeting you attend unnecessarily is a book you didn't read, a workout you didn't complete, a project you didn't start. Every time you help someone who refuses to help themselves, you are stealing time from the people you could truly make an impact on, including yourself. Saying no frees that time. It frees mental space. It frees the emotional bandwidth that you need to focus on what truly matters. The resistance to saying no often comes from the belief that it will damage relationships, but strong relationships are built on respect, not on endless compliance. In fact, when you begin to say no, you filter out the people who were only there to take advantage. You'll see who remains in your life when you are no longer available on demand, and those people are the ones worth keeping. The rest will drift away, and that is not a loss, it's a clearing. It's the removal of distractions that never had your best interest at heart. When you start practicing the strategic no, you also begin to notice how much of your life you were living for someone else's approval. You'll realize that your schedule was never truly yours, that your goals were constantly competing with everyone else's expectations. And with that realization comes a sense of empowerment, because now you can take it back. You can decide what deserves your attention, what deserves your time, and what doesn't. Every no you give to the wrong thing is a yes to the right thing. Every no is a declaration that your dreams are non-negotiable, that your focus is not for sale, and that your life is too important to be wasted on anything that does not contribute to your vision. Every yes you give has a price tag attached to it, whether you realize it or not. It is not simply a word. It's a transfer of your time, your focus, and your energy from what you could be doing for your own growth to what someone else wants from you. Most people never stop to calculate that cost because the culture around them teaches that saying yes is a sign of kindness, cooperation, and good character. But what you must understand is that your constant yes is often the very thing that keeps you from building the life you truly want. Every time you agree to something that doesn't serve your goals, you are silently pushing your own dreams further away. The human mind has a tendency to underestimate the impact of small decisions. You think, it's just this one favor, or it's only an hour, but the reality is that hours add up. That one favor becomes a habit, that just this time becomes your default response. And soon, you've built a life where you're constantly reacting to everyone else's needs instead of proactively chasing your own vision. The wrong yes doesn't just take a moment from your day, it can alter the entire direction of your life. A strategic no is not an act of cruelty, it's an act of discipline and self-respect. It is the conscious decision to evaluate every request and ask yourself, does this move me toward my purpose or does it pull me away? This is where most people fail. They never ask that question. They let guilt, fear, or the need to be liked make their decisions for them. They allow the discomfort of saying no to outweigh the long-term consequences of saying yes. But here's the truth. That moment of awkwardness when you refuse something is far less damaging than the months or years you lose when you accept the wrong thing. The wrong yes can chain you to commitments you never wanted in the first place. It can keep you working in a job that drains you because you once said yes to responsibilities that were never yours to carry. It can trap you in a relationship where you're constantly giving more than you receive because you once said yes to behavior you should have rejected. It can fill your calendar with meaningless activities that leave you exhausted yet unfulfilled. This is not about avoiding responsibility. It's about taking responsibility for your own future and not handing it over to the loudest voice in the room. Think of your yes as a form of currency. Every time you spend it, you're making an investment. If you keep investing in things that don't yield growth, don't bring joy, and don't align with your goals, you will go bankrupt, not financially, but mentally and emotionally. A careless yes is like pouring water into someone else's bucket while your own well runs dry. You can't build anything meaningful in your life if your time and energy are constantly being drained by obligations that don't matter to you. The problem is that many people fear the consequences of saying no. They imagine others will see them as selfish, unhelpful, or cold. But here's the reality. People who truly respect you will respect your boundaries. Those who don't respect your boundaries were never interested in you. They were interested in what you could give them. The faster you learn this, the faster you will stop wasting energy on trying to please everyone. Because no matter how much you give, there will always be those who want more, and they will take more until you stop them. The moment you begin to use a strategic no, your life changes. Your yes becomes more valuable because it's rare, intentional, and tied to things that truly matter. You start to see that you don't need to attend every event, agree to every request, or take part in every conversation. You realize that you can't do everything for everyone, and you shouldn't try. By narrowing your focus and committing only to what aligns with your vision, you amplify your progress. You have more energy, more clarity, and more momentum because you're no longer scattering yourself in 100 directions. Saying no is also a filter. It reveals who is in your life for the right reasons and who is there for convenience. When you stop giving out automatic yeses, you'll see some people disappear, and that is not a loss, it's a gain. You are removing distractions and clearing space for the right people, the right opportunities, and the right commitments. This is how you take control of your time instead of letting others control it for you. Every yes you give must be earned. It should be the result of a conscious choice, not a reflex. Before you commit to anything, ask yourself if it brings you closer to your goals, if it benefits your future, and if it is worth the time and energy it will cost you. If the answer is no, then the answer you give should also be no. Because the truth is, every time you say no to the wrong thing, you are saying yes to your own growth, your own peace, and your own destiny. Your destiny is not written in some distant place waiting for you to stumble upon it. It is shaped moment by moment by the choices you make. Every yes you give is a direction you choose to walk in, whether you realize it or not. The problem is that most people don't see the connection between the small agreements they make every day and the big results they either achieve or never reach. They treat each yes as if it exists in isolation, as if it has no ripple effect. But every yes is a brick in the road you're building, and if too many of those bricks lead sideways instead of forward, you will end up far from where you wanted to be. When you say yes to something that doesn't align with your goals, you are essentially handing over the steering wheel of your life to someone else. You allow their priorities to become your roadmap. Maybe it's a friend asking for a favor, a boss handing you a task outside your role, or a family member insisting you take on a responsibility that isn't yours each time you agree without it. Considering how it affects your path, you give away a piece of control over your future. Over time, those small moments add up to years of detours. The danger is that these detours often feel harmless at first. They might even seem like opportunities, something that will only take a little time or won't hurt to try. But the truth is, anything that takes you away from your main vision is a cost you must pay. And unlike money, time is a currency you can never earn back. A yes given to the wrong thing is not neutral, it's a trade. You're trading progress on your goals for progress on someone else's. You're trading your own dreams for a place in the background of theirs. What makes this even more dangerous is that every yes you give becomes part of your identity. When you consistently agree to things outside your vision, you start to live as someone who exists to serve other people's plans instead of your own. This is not about refusing to help others. It's about refusing to sacrifice your life for the sake of being agreeable. People who achieve their dreams are not the ones who say yes to everything. They are the ones who know exactly which yeses matter and which must be refused without hesitation. Your destiny is not built by accident, it is built by deliberate choice, Every decision is either a step toward the life you want or a step away from it. If you keep saying yes to things that are not aligned with your purpose, you are building someone else's destiny instead of your own. And the most dangerous part is, you might not even notice it happening until it's too late. You'll wake up one day and realize that years have passed, and you are living a life you never truly chose, you simply agreed to it, piece by piece, one yes at a time. Saying yes to the right things requires clarity. You must know what you want, where you're going, and what matters most to you. Without that clarity, every request will seem equally important. Every opportunity will feel worth taking, and every demand will seem urgent. That's why people who lack a clear vision are so easily swayed. They have nothing to measure their decisions against. But when you have a defined goal, a picture of the future you're building, you can evaluate every yes with precision. Does this move me closer to my vision, or is it just noise? It's important to understand that not all yeses are bad. Some yeses can accelerate your growth, open doors, and lead to breakthroughs. But the wrong yes is more dangerous than saying no to a good opportunity, because the wrong yes doesn't just waste time, it steals focus. And once your focus is fractured, your momentum dies. You can't move powerfully toward your destiny if you're constantly being pulled in different directions by commitments that don't belong to you. Think about the most successful people you know, not the ones who simply look busy, but the ones who actually achieve what they set out to do. They are masters of selective yeses. They say no to almost everything that doesn't serve their mission, not because they're arrogant, but because they understand the cost. They know that their destiny is too valuable to be left at the mercy of every request and distraction that comes their way. The truth is, your yes should be an investment, not a reflex. It should be given only when the return is worth more than the cost. And in terms of destiny, the return must be progress toward the life you are trying to create. Anything else is a withdrawal from the very future you claim to want. Every time you say yes without thinking, you're placing a bet with your destiny, and most of the time, that bet is a loss you can't afford. Your destiny is a masterpiece, and you are both the artist and the architect. Every brushstroke, every brick, every step you take is determined by the yeses and nos you give. If you want to end up where you truly belong, you must stop giving away yeses to things that don't fit the picture you're creating. Because in the end, your life will be the sum of what you agreed to, and the price of saying yes to the wrong things is a destiny that never becomes what it could have been. Over-friendliness often has a root cause that goes far deeper than most people realize. It is not just a personality trait, it is often a symptom of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being disliked, or even fear of standing alone. These fears hide in the background of your mind, quietly influencing your decisions and shaping your behavior. They whisper to you that if you disagree, if you push back, if you say no, you will lose relationships, opportunities, or acceptance. So, you smile when you don't feel like smiling. You agree when you want to refuse. You bite your tongue instead of speaking the truth. On the surface, this looks like kindness, but underneath it is self-betrayal. When you operate from this place of fear, you are not acting from strength, you are acting from a need to protect yourself from discomfort. The problem is that avoiding discomfort comes at the cost of long-term peace. Every time you choose temporary comfort over honesty, you create a little more resentment within yourself. You might feel relief in the moment, relief that you didn't cause a confrontation, relief that you avoided awkwardness. But that relief fades quickly, and in its place comes the heavy weight of frustration. You start to feel invisible, unappreciated, and used. You feel as though your needs don't matter, but the truth is, you've been teaching people not to consider them by never voicing them. Negative feelings don't just appear out of nowhere. They are built over time from repeated moments where you suppressed your truth for the sake of being liked. You begin to internalize the belief that your value comes from making other people happy, even if it costs you your own happiness. This mindset is a trap because it creates a cycle. You avoid conflict to feel safe. You feel unappreciated because your needs aren't met, and then you double down on being nice, in the hope that someone will finally notice your sacrifices. That notice rarely comes, and even when it does, it is fleeting. The reality is that fear-driven friendliness doesn't prevent negative feelings, it creates them. By constantly putting others ahead of yourself, you tell your subconscious that your own desires are unimportant. Over time, this erodes your confidence, making it even harder to set boundaries. You become so accustomed to pleasing others that you forget how to please yourself. This is why so many people who are always there for everyone else end up feeling lonely and drained. They gave everything away in the hope that it would return, but it rarely does. Breaking free from this trap starts with shifting your mindset about what it means to care for others. True care is not about saying yes to everything. It's about being honest, consistent, and genuine. Sometimes the most caring thing you can do is say no, because a fake yes breeds resentment, and resentment destroys relationships faster than honesty ever could. When you learn to prioritize your growth, your peace, and your emotional health, you are not becoming selfish. You are becoming strong enough to give from a place of abundance instead of depletion. You must train your mind to stop equating disagreement with rejection. People who truly respect you will not walk away because you set a boundary. In fact, those who value you will respect you more for it. But you will only believe this when you face the fear head on. The first few times you say no, you will feel guilty. That's normal. The guilt is not a sign you're wrong. It's a sign you're breaking a habit that has been ingrained in you for years. Over time, that guilt will be replaced by a sense of relief and empowerment, because you will begin to see how much mental space and emotional energy you free up when you stop overextending yourself. Negative feelings also shrink when you stop tying your self-worth to how much you do for others. You are not valuable because of your constant availability. You are valuable because of who you are. When you start living from that truth, you stop chasing approval and start building self-respect. The people who remain in your life when you stand firm in your boundaries are the people who actually care about you, not just what you can do for them. The transformation comes when you begin to act from strength instead of fear. Acting from fear says, "I'll agree so you won't be upset with me." Acting from strength says, "I'll be honest because my truth matters and the right people will stay." Fear is reactive, strength is deliberate. Fear seeks to avoid pain at all costs. Strength understands that a little discomfort now prevents a lot of pain later. Over-friendliness rooted in fear is not kindness, it is avoidance, and avoidance always breeds more of the very feelings you're trying to escape. If you want to escape the trap of negative feelings, you must accept that your growth depends on being willing to risk disapproval in the short term for respect in the long term. It means reminding yourself daily that your life is yours to live, not a stage for other people's comfort. It means making decisions that align with your vision, even when they disappoint others. And it means understanding that those who truly value you will never demand that you betray yourself just to keep their approval.